But just to say, that is not always that easy. It requires more work, like in any study. We get very excited and then get collecting the data, but then the putting it all together and writing it up is a little bit more challenging. But if you did well your desk review, your selection of themes, you're already kind of creating your own matrix, your own table for analysis, right? You already wanted to see if there were carbohydrates, I'm going to say whatever, if fruits and vegetables are picked more than meat and fish, or what, like, there will be things that you already had in your mind that you can use as you analyze your information. And then always, in any visual method, you go back and forth from the narrative to the image. The narrative to the image all the time. Okay, so this is an example of something that we saw in Liberia. We had picked a picture of a child soldier because during the Civil War it was very common to have children carrying weapons. And so we asked kids to, in these two rounds, things that represent risk, and so several children chose this one. And it's not good to fight the war, this boy is holding a gun, he could kill anybody, that's what one child said. And another one said, I don't like this photo because war can make you run away from home. The soldier will come and take all your good things from your house and burn it. So these are, triggered stories that I had heard at home, or some of them might have experienced very young. Okay, now, when the moment came, the photo was also put there for something that makes you feel safe and happy, right? Did we expect any child to pick the same photo? But what happened? They did. So one said, when the war comes to Liberia, I will be safe when I'm holding a gun. Nobody will kill me. The boy holding a gun makes me feel safe because the gun will protect him from bad people. So this is just, for me, such a good illustration of how we were able to surface non-normative responses. Just adults, when we were preparing this, the group together, we were like, oh, let's put representations of danger. Let's put a child soldier. Like this is what we thought. And I'm saying we, I was the only foreigner. Everybody else were Liberians, and they had lived through the war. So I trusted, they thought, this is great, let's put it, We never thought it was going to be a representation of protection. So it's just an illustration, okay? When we, similarly, but this is in the case of Laos, we used lots of different images, and most things came kind of, I don't know if you can see well, but basically there were domains, larger groups like the umbrella super themes. Then we had themes, so for instance within food and nutrition we had breastfeeding, animals, cultivation, cooked food, meals, so different themes within the larger themes, macro themes. And the way I did the analysis here was contrasting safe and unsafe. And most of them fell where we expected, but you can see that several of them have 2 checks. So for instance, there was one photograph of a chicken, just a chicken. And we thought this was a representation of food, so they're going to think it's safe and good. This is a very poor community, so it represents food. And it did represent food for some children, but for other children, it represented danger, because the chicken are pooing everywhere. It's all dirty, and they're trying to play soccer in this yard that is super dirty. And so we really don't like to go there. It's just not safe, So there it goes. We picked it as, protective food, and it ended up being unsafe living space. There's images of chores or work, different tasks that children are entrusted at home. And for some children that was good because they were contributing to the family and whatever. And for some others it can be dangerous because maybe they're carrying too much weight and it will not be good for growing up. Yeah. So there are a number of them that were that fell where we expected, and others that didn't. So if you, basically the idea is for you, and I'm happy to send you the PDFs of the papers if you want to read the papers to get the full. This is just a table summarizing, but you can read some of the quotes that come with the images. So I'll send it to you. Basically, it's just to give you an idea of two ways in which you could analyze it. You could use the more traditional qualitative with selecting quotes and describing your themes and then selecting quotes to illustrate those. And you could have, this is kind of a, I don't know if it's a quantitative, but it's probably my analytical mind of having tables and kind of placing things in different themes that you could use. So just let me wrap up because I think I'm taking probably longer than I should have. Okay. So we have found the paper to be very useful, mostly for, for two things. One, for identifying, I call it diagnostic, identifying issues in a community. In our case, it has been mostly protection, risk, or well-being, but it could be on other themes. But also as an education tool. It's very cost-effective. You can do it it could be even in black and white. It could even be drawings. It doesn't have to be photographs. You could draw things yourself. You could print it just in paper or in cardboard, or they could be nicely laminated. So there's the whole range. It can be really quite cheap. You saw I traveled from Canada with that little stack of, so it's really very easy to move around with. The most important, I think, most valuable thing is that it can be very culturally sensitive. You can really adapt it. There were a few photographs that I used in Liberia that I used in Laos because they were a rainbow. So there were certain things that were, that any person anywhere in the world can relate to. A beautiful sunset, like, nature, that you can use anywhere. But there are lots of others that have to be contextualized. So in Liberia, the people in the images were mostly black. Not all of them, but mostly black. In Laos, we had Hmong, we had Lao Lum, we had different ethnic groups with their different traditions and ways of dressing. We wanted to be able to, for the young people to relate. And actually that was very interesting, and it came up, how culture and religion was very protective for children. And they often would select an image that they could relate to. So if they were Hmong, they would likely, in our case they always, selected the photographs that represented Hmong families, because they could see how they dressed. They were used to seeing their mother dress like that, right? And so that was another interesting, I think would be an interesting paper if you wanted to explore more cultural-based practices, right? The other thing is that it's a good as an exercise for adults to open up our minds and look at the phenomena we're studying from the different perspective of the participants. And as I started with that, and it's good that I finished with it. I hope that now you understand why I said that for me the next step is to involve children, in my case, or population work, in taking the photographs. So you could have a group of comparable children, so not your sample, not the adolescents in the school that you want to do the exercise with, but other adolescents in a similar community. Take photographs of things that represent healthy eating or healthy living style, whatever it is in your question. And then you could work with that group of young people to make the final selection of photographs that would be relevant for their peers from the same group, and you put the stack together, and once you have your stack of photos, then you can go to your schools and use it to collect your information. I think it would be another layer of validation in the quality of this. We, because of the circumstances we had and the time and the resources, we had to download photographs from the internet, take pictures ourselves, and then validate it with our advisory committee. So that was, and I think it's a good way to do it too. But if you have the capacity to include further more the perspective of the population you're working with, I encourage you to do it. I think it can only increase the validity of the method. Okay, I think I've talked enough. I hope I haven't lost too many of you for too long. And if I have, well, I hope at least you will find something interesting. That's what I tell my students. Any questions?
Ada pertanyaan lagi?
Yes.
May I know how you conclude how to interpret their statement of the photos? I see that you use 57 12, and then you take the red line of the assessment you take. How to do that to get the conclusion of your statement about the photos?
Let me see if I understand the question. Is if different children talk about the same photo, or not necessarily?
You tell us that one photo can describe another responsive of their story. You know, I see this one is better. I see this one is not better, or I see this one is safe. It's not this one not safe. You know. How you take the conclusion? How do you take the red line of the statement of their statement?
One of the challenges in research, and I'm sure you know this if you work with big amounts of data, and I'm not even going to talk about the 25,400 respondents for that survey, Dr. Isana. 25,400 respondents.
So maybe they don't know, Monica as well, a team from the I-Swear. Okay. So Monica juga tim dari International Survey of Children's Wellbeing, dan dia akan melakukan pengambilan datanya itu di Namibia bulan Juni ini. So she was really surprised knowing that we have already 25,400